Hello guys, today I'm going to show you guys how to draw 3 bored students at school in anime. So let's get started. So I'm going to start by drawing a horizontal line for the table. And then I'm going to draw 3 vertical lines for 3 different students. Okay, I'm going to leave them, yeah, something like that. And then I'm going to start with the first one. And I'm gonna first draw a line, a slanted line for his shoulder, and then 2 lines down to the table for his arms. And this arm, I'm going to make this going upwards a little bit, and this one is like straight down. And this is gonna be his elbow, and his arm is gonna go up there, almost to the middle, a little bit to the side, and this is also the other line for his arm. Okay, so this is his arm, and then here is where his hand is gonna be, something like that. You don't have to be very detailed now, it's just a sketch. So I'm gonna just draw his head leaning onto this hand, maybe a little bit more tilted to the side, like that. And then a line for his eyes, which is looking a little bit downwards to indicate that he's bored. And then something like this, but I just found out that his head is a little bit too small, so I'm gonna increase the size of his hand, and head. I'm sorry, but I meant head. Okay, so something like that. And then his eyes and the center of his head. Okay, pretty okay. So I'm just gonna round up his shoulder to make them look more natural, and I'm just gonna finish his left arm. So for this guy, I'm gonna let him have his arm going below the table, so it's gonna be hidden behind the table. And then a line for the center of his chest, and then a line for his breast, something like that. And yep, maybe a little line there, maybe a little separation here. Okay, so this was his sketch, and then I'm just gonna draw in the details. So let's just start with with the clothes, because this part is going to be easy. It's just going to be something like that. And actually I need to make the line a little bit transparent before I do the finishing, and also I have two more drawings to do, so I need to be a little bit faster too. So something like that. Okay, and then his arm going up there. Okay, a little bit hard to explain how these lines are. I've drawn them basically straight. Chỗ này mày à, phải á, ai mà skip đi à, phải á. Okay, I just skipped something because someone just went into my room. But okay, let's just continue. Okay, so we're gonna draw the hand. The hand is probably the hardest part here, and I'm gonna just zoom in a little bit more. And it's just really hard to explain. It's just something like this, and then this is the pinky finger, and then this is gonna be the ring finger, and then maybe the middle finger. I don't know, but you don't have to be that detailed. And then I'm just gonna finish this the other arm, which is gonna be, by the way, a little bit higher. And then again, the creases. And then, you know, I don't know how to explain these lines, but it's just something like that. And then a line downwards, and this line, and then, you know, a line for his color, color. I don't know how to explain, how to say that word. And then finally onto his face. So 4 lines for his cheek. He's gonna have a little sharp cheek, and then I'm gonna give him the ear first. And actually I'm gonna switch pencil to a much more sharper one. And for his eyes, when you draw someone very bored, you're gonna have his eyes really small, like this. Maybe it's not small enough, but that's okay. And then an unsatisfied mouth, and then this kind of eyebrow. Just copy that. I don't know how to explain that. But the line for his ear, and then I'm just gonna give, for this guy, I'm gonna, okay, so all his hair is gonna come from this point, and then I'm just gonna give him really long hair. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that. Okay, something like this. Okay, that line was wrong, but yeah, something like that. I'm gonna give him something like this. The hair was a little bit strange, but okay, something was strange, and that thing was that he needs to have larger head, larger, you know, hair. So I'm just gonna give him something more, so like that. Oh, it's a terrible tutorial. I had to erase so much, but you know, something like that. Actually, I'm not gonna give him that thing even. He's gonna have something like this. And then completely dark eyes, to completely dark iris. And then of course we need to add some lines for the creases, because you know it's not that simple. Something like this, and then something like this. Okay, so this looks pretty okay. So I'm just gonna go on to the other one, but by the way, I'm just gonna make this line clearer. Okay, so I'm gonna, and by the way, this part of his head is a little bit out of proportion. Actually, I'm gonna make a little hair. Okay, I'm just gonna zoom in a little bit, and then this is very okay. So let's go to the other one. Okay, so I wasted like 10 minutes on just the first one. I'm sorry. I'm a terrible drawer, but I would just, but these two are gonna be easier, so it's gonna be faster, so it's gonna be okay, I think. Okay, by the way, let's just get started. Okay, so this one is gonna be much more bored, and he's gonna have his eyes closed. So actually, I'm gonna switch pencil, and that line was his shoulder, and then his arm is gonna go like straight out, straight down like this, and then his shoulder going up there, and then this is where his hand is gonna be, and then his head is gonna lean onto it. It's basically the same, but he's gonna be like leaning more on the table, so he's gonna be lower than this guy, and he's gonna look upwards with his eyes closed. And then the neck and the shoulder, and then his arms going way out there, and then actually, okay, so this is his breast, this is like the top of his shoulder, and then this arm is gonna go outwards, and this is gonna be like just there, and he's gonna have his hand here. Okay, so that was it. It's really hard to explain why everything is like how it is, but actually I'm gonna switch the way his shoulder is, because this shoulder is gonna be taller than that shoulder. So like this, and by the way, this is gonna be a little bit higher. I'm sorry, I'm gonna erase it. And this guy is gonna be much taller, and then something like that. Something like this. I'm gonna erase something in the middle, and then make the line clearer. Okay, so this is how his lower arm is gonna be. And I know I feel like I'm hasting a little bit, but I don't want this video to be that long, so I have to be like that. I'm sorry. And actually I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more, and I'm going to, you know, just make this a little bit more transparent. I know this sketch feels very incomplete, but it's very okay, because when I draw the details I can be much more detailed. Okay, so let's start with where his arm was, where his wrist was. Okay, so for his it's gonna be actually much thinner, but for his hand, I'm gonna give him, his finger is gonna be bent, something like this, like bent on the table, so like this. And then his thumb is gonna be hidden behind the fingers, but I know you can't really see much. It's so, because I don't have a really sharp, and it's so small here, so you can't really see stuff. If I were to draw it bigger, you could have seen that the fingers are curved on the table, but whatever. And then of course I'm gonna give him a different clothes, something like this, maybe. Yeah, something like this. And then just there, I just gave it some crease here. You know, it's really hard to explain how the creases are. You just have to experience with it. I'm not really good at that myself, so it's really hard for me to teach you guys how to do the creases. You guys can, you know, look at it yourself, because, you know, you can just be a model for your your drawings. So, you know, whatever. And then for his arm, just something like that. Looks okay, but this arm is way too long, and this arm is way too thin. So let's just increase its size much more, and then actually give him a much smaller hole here, a collar, much smaller collar. And I'm just gonna redraw the table. And of course his head. So this was his neck, and his head was something like that, and this was his eyes. So I'm just going to give him something like that. His eyes is going to be closed, and then this time his hand is going to be like behind his head. The reason for that is because he's kind of sleeping, so this guy is just leaning on it to just save energy, but this guy is like sleeping. He's like sleeping on his hand, so his hand is going to be like supporting much more, so it's going to be a little bit behind. And then his nose is going to be just 2 dots, and then for his mouth, I'm just going to give him, you know, the anime sleeping mouth. I don't know what it's called, anime sleeping mouth. That's a good name for it. And actually for this guy, I'm gonna give him a different hairstyle. I'm gonna give him short hair. Yeah, like really short hair. Okay, not really short hair, but I'm just gonna give him some short hairstyle. Actually, I will. So short and spiky hair, waxed hair, I don't know what it's called, just something. And then his ear, and then a last straw of hair behind his head. Okay, so this looked quite okay. Maybe the only bad part is that I did not complete this part. So his arms still look a little bit small. Maybe it's because I don't know why it looks so thin. Yeah, I know why it looks so thin, because of his that's because this line is the culprit. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it like that with no creases there. Okay, that's pretty okay. Very few creases, but that's okay. I just need to, you know, draw the last guy. But actually, this arm is a little bit too strange. I'm gonna make him like much bigger, you know, without this line, and then much bigger towards here, something like that. And then, you know, something like this. Now that looks okay, doesn't it? I don't know, but it looks much more natural now. Okay, so for the last guy, I've wasted like 10 more minutes. I'm sorry, I told you guys it's gonna be easier, it's gonna be faster, but another 10 minutes used. But this guy is really gonna be easy, because this time we don't even have to draw the face. And by the way, I just forgot to add the eyebrows. Okay, the eyebrows is just exactly the same as the eyes. Something like that. That's okay. Okay, so this guy's gonna have... He's gonna be like completely asleep with his head lying on the table. So his head is gonna be like this, and we can only see the top of his head. Actually, we can't really see the complete of the top of his head, because it's a part of it is gonna be like behind the arms, behind his arms. Okay, so his hands crossed, but one of his arm is in the front. So here is gonna be where his arm is. Okay, so and yeah, that's pretty much it. You just have to add some creases and stuff, and you know, and then we just have to make it a little bit transparent. It's really easy. I told you it's gonna be that easy. And let's just draw it. Okay, so for this guy, I'm gonna give him hoodie. I don't know if it's pronounced like that, but a hoodie. You know, that's the I don't know how to explain it, but no, that's the clothes. And of course a lot of creases here because it's completely bent. Creases here too. Okay, not that much creases there. Something like this. And going toward this place. And his other arm is gonna be behind this arm. Again, creases here, a lot of creases. Maybe a crease going like this. And then his arm here. Again, curled arm because that's the most common thing to do. With his finger curled. And I'm not really good at drawing a hoodie, but I'm gonna give him spiky hair, and most of the hoodie is gonna be invisible anyway, so that's okay. And by the way, these 3 lines was so bad. Okay, really spiky hair, something like that. And some lines for you know, the start of his hair. I don't know what it's called. It's the root of his hair. No, that's a wrong word. But you know, this is where his hair is gonna be going from. So yeah, that's it. So I've drawn for you guys. I'm very bored at school. As you can see, I've not done the coloring, so I'm just going to do a time lapse of me doing the coloring. So yeah. Okay guys, so I've done doing the coloring, and I've also traced all the lines and made them clearer and also harder, so that you guys can see the drawing much clearer. So thank you guys for watching, and if you hope you guys learned something new. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any requests or questions, just leave it in the comment section below. And see you guys next time. Goodbye.